Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Faten Amira Binti Phaharoradzi with matrix number A172198, and today I will be presenting my research project entitled Sexist Language Among University Students under the supervision of Dr. Azianura Hani Binti Shaari. Let me start by explaining to you guys briefly about the background of the study. Sexism can be referred to as the beliefs people hold about members of the categories men or women. Sexist language, on the other hand, is defined as any language that is supposed to include all people but excludes gender. Subsequently, according to a study by Dickman and Ingley, men are generally seen as more agentic and more competent than women, whereas women are seen as more expressive and more communal than men. This is due to the fact that men and women are assigned different social roles, values, and communicative behavior, which makes gender vary among generations, societies, and even settings. The present study therefore looks into some linguistic features that indicate sexism among men and women. The aims of this study are to study the common features of sexist language recognized by university students in Malaysia, and second, to measure the level of awareness towards sexist language among university students in Malaysia based on the research questions stated in the slides. Moving on to the next slide, which is the significance of the study. The significance of the study is that it can be a learning paradigm in the tertiary level to broaden the students' knowledge in this topic. And it is to help university students improve their ability in acknowledging common features of sexism in language, as well as increasing their level of awareness whenever they encounter sexist language remark. Let's proceed to the literature review, which describes the origins of sexism and sexism in the structure of language. According to past research regarding the origins of sexism, gender stereotypes originate in the gender-typical social roles based on social role theory. And there are two forms of sexist prejudice, which are expressly hostile and subjectively benevolent. Hostile sexism can be described as the negative feelings toward women in order to justify male power, where women are considered as sexual subjects. As for benevolent sexism, it is a rather subtle form of prejudice toward women, as it sees them as kind, gentle, pure, and they are in need of men's protection, therefore justifying male dominance and women's subordinate role. In terms of sexism in the structure of language, it provides explanation in order to answer whether language is sexist or not. Sexist language can be proved by the use of masculine generics or male terms to refer to people in general, such as mankind. According to Fis, more positive connotations on masculine form of words, meanwhile it is the opposite from femininity, where women are interpreted as passive object positions. Hence, this justifies that languages are sexist. Proceeding to the next slide, which explains about research methodology. This study employed mixed method design, which is the combination of quantitative and qualitative approach to collect and analyze the data. This method can be seen as more reliable in providing and obtaining detailed and precise data. In this study, therefore, I will first use quantitative approach, where I collect the data using questionnaire. The findings were then interpreted using descriptive statistics such as SPSS and also Cronbach's alpha coefficient. This is to test the reliability and the validity of the questionnaire. As for the qualitative approach, I will use interviews to collect the data, and the results were then extracted by using thematic analysis. 70 university students were selected as sample for questionnaire, and 4 university students were chosen among the 70 students to participate in the interview session. The next slide presents the data analysis and findings from the questionnaire, which were extracted by using SPSS. The means of a total number of 20 items based on 5-point Likert scale method in section A, B, and C, which were tested to respondents according to the respected variables. As we can see, all items have mean score of 1.8 and above. This is an indication that the majority of the responses did not agree or chose undecided option with the item statements based on each variable, and this provides crucial antecedents on the respondents' level of awareness on sexist language. Consequently, reliability test was also used in this study by using Cronbach's alpha coefficient. This is to measure whether the scale is free of random error or otherwise, as well as indicating that there is no presence of bias to ensure the consistency of measurement across time and items in the instruments. According to research studies by Nunnally and Devlis, to prove high reliability of the scales of variable, it must reach a minimum level of 0.7 and above. You can see that there are two tables, section A and B, which indicate the high reliability of all the variables except for section C, which with the value of 0.65. However, in certain cases, the value of 0.6 is considered acceptable, mentioned by other past studies too. That means all of the results of the instruments are suited to be used to analyze the data properly. Moving on to data analysis and findings found on interviews using thematic analysis. There are several steps that I use to interpret the data where I first made myself familiar with the data. It is important to get a thorough overview of all the data I've collected before I started to analyze individual items. Next is coding the data, which means highlighting the sections in the text like phrases or sentences, and then I came up with the themes. And I make sure that the themes are useful and accurate representations of the data. Here I have managed to discover two main themes in this study, which are the common features of sexist language and awareness of the existence of sexist language among university students in Malaysia. I provided the transcription of the data from the interview to further explain the themes respectively, as you can see here, and you may pause to read if you happen to need more time to have a look at it. The last part is the discussion and the conclusion. To answer the research objectives in this study, it is apparent that the findings indicate that the majority of the participants perceive words that narrowly define women and men as normal words, without thinking much about sexist language. The participants, however, were aware of the existence of sexist language but chose to accept it as a part of the cultural values and norms of the society. That as it may, there is a limitation of this study that must be emphasized. In order to avoid violation of the guidelines of the International Review Board, this study is restricted to strong or deeply offensive language that could imply to emotional charge to the participants. Hence, the participants may be subjected to perceive the inventory to be too mild to oppose in terms of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group known as microaggression, such as whore or bitch. This is because those words are likely harmful to women even though they are labeled as sexist, yet they are not used in this study. As a closure in this video presentation, I would like to suggest further direction of the research regarding sexist language topic, where it should consider refining and providing creative ways to include stronger language in the study, so there may be significant changes in the result caused by the divisions in ideologies from the participants. That is all from me, and I would like to thank you for listening to my video presentation on sexist language among university students. Have a nice day.